Welcome to another video lesson on statistics and probability. Our topic is about identifying the different random sampling techniques. The objectives are the following. First, define terms related to random sampling. Second, illustrate random sampling. And third, identify different random sampling techniques. In research, collecting data can either be done in the entire population or the subset of this population called sample. If a researcher opts to use sample rather than a population, he must take considerations on the number of samples and how these samples can be chosen out of his target population. Let us start our discussion with defining some of the terms being used in random sampling. Now that we are starting with topics related to research, it is very much important that you know some of the terminologies being used. To start with, we have the population. Population includes all of its elements from a given set of data. So, kung ikaw si researcher, pwede namang buong population ang kuhanin mo. Pero, kung yun ang pagbabatayan mo, malaki at masyadong magiging matagal ang research mo. Kasi kung buong population ang kukuhanan mo ng data. That's why meron mga researcher na kumukuha lang ng certain part from the population. Also, the size of the population is the number of observations in the population. So kung ano yung number ng population, yun yung size ng population mo. Then, as I have said, we have a certain part from the population. Kung ayaw mong kuhanin ng buo, yung buong data or buong respondents mo, ayaw mo kuhanin yung lahat-lahat, kumuha ka lang ng sample mula sa kanila. Like for example, yung lahat ng students ng Tunasan Annex, yun ang magiging population mo. Pero kung iisipin mo, masyadong marami ang estudyante ng Tunasan Annex para maging respondents mo. So, kumuha ka lang ng part of it. And that's what we call sample. Sample consists of one or more data drawn from the population. It is a subset or an incomplete set taken from a population of objects or observations. Taking samples instead of population is less time-consuming and cost-effective. Although sampling techniques had advantages, it can also be source of bias and inaccuracy. Siyempre, kapag ka-population ang kinuha mo bilang pagkukuhanan mo ng data, napakatagal nun kasi ang dami nila. At saka, siyempre, magastos. Kasi ang dami nilang respondents mo, kung gagawa ka ng questionnaire para sa profile nila o kaya yung para sa test para makakuha ka ng information, madami kang gagawin kasi population ang pinili mo. Unlike kung sample lang, makakalas ka na sa time, makakalas ka pa sa gastos. Pero, kaya naman, merong mga random techniques na gagamitin para makakuha ng sample. Hindi siya basta-basta. And this is called random sampling. Random sampling is a method of choosing representatives from the population wherein every sample has an equal chance of being selected. Accurate data can be collected using random sampling techniques. So, hindi lang basta pili ng pili. Kinukonsider yung proseso ng pagpili at saka dapat lahat ng respondents mo mula sa population merong equal chance na mapili. So, meron tayong dalawang klase ng random sampling. Ito yung probability sampling at saka non-probability sampling. Iisa-isahin natin ang mga types ng random sampling na under sa probability sampling. So we have types of random sampling under probability sampling. The first one is simple random sampling. Simple random sampling is the most basic sampling technique. In this sampling technique, every member of the population has an equal chance of being chosen to be part of the sample. Alam niyo ba yung tinatawag na draw lots? Ang tawag doon ay simple random sampling. Bakit draw lots? Kasi 'di ba madalas sa classroom natin kapag pumipili ng magiging representative, kunyari nag-report, isang grupo consists of 12. Then pipili ng 4 mula sa grupong yun. Ako bilang teacher, ang gagawin ko lang, ililista or magpapalabas ako sa inyo ng 1/8 sheet of paper, ililista yung mga pangalan nyo doon, tapos ilalagay ko sa box or urn. From there, bubunot ako. So lahat kayo, dahil 12 kayo, meron kayong chance na 1/12 or equal chances na pwede kayong mabunot. So for example, ang nabunot ko, si 2. So isa na siya sa magiging sample ko. Next kong nabunot ay 5. So isa na siya sa sample ko. And then 8, isa na ulit siya sa sample. And 10, isa na ulit siya sa sample. So mula sa population na 10, pumili ako ng 4 para maging sample. So, ito yung pinakamadali. Bubunot. Ilalagay ang mga pangalan nyo sa papel at bubunutin isa-isa. Kung sino yung mga nabunot ko, sila yung laman ng sample ko. Kaya siya tinawag na most basic sampling technique. So, let's have example for this. Example 1. A researcher wants to study the number of hours spent by an adult in doing household chores over the weekend in a certain community. In selecting members of his sample, he wanted to use the simple random sampling technique. If there are 800 adults in the community, how many adults should there be in his sample? So sa situation na to, meron tayong 800 na population. And then, with this, how many adults should there be in his sample? Take note, the researcher wants to study the number of hours spent by an adult in doing household chores over the weekend. So, in choosing, he wanted to use simple random sampling techniques. Sabi ko nga kanina, in using simple random sampling techniques, madali lang siyang gawin. Ito lang yung naglilista lang ng mga pangalan sa papel, tapos i-draw lots. Kaya lang, ang tanong, bago ka mag-draw lots, ilan ba ang i-draw mo or bubunutin mo mula sa urn? So, for us to determine the number of adults that there will be in his sample, we will use the Sloven's formula. Sloven's formula is N equals capital letter N divided by 1 plus capital letter N E squared. Ang N na small letter ay number of adults, which is the unknown. Tapos yung capital letter N ay yung number of population in the community. Ito yung 800, I should say. Letter E is the margin of error. And of course, squared. So for us to solve for the number of adults, we'll have to substitute the given to the formula. So N is equal to 800 divided by 1 plus 800 times 0.05 raised to the second power. So 800 divided by yung sagot ng 1 plus 800 times 0.05 squared ay 3. So 800 divided by 3, ang answer ay 267.67 or 267 kasi wala namang tao na 67.67. So rounding it up to the nearest whole, the total number of adults that there will be in a sample is 267. Now that he determined how many adults will there be in a sample, saka na natin gagawin yung random sampling technique. Yung simple random sampling technique. So, ang gagawin na ngayon, ililista niya na ang mga pangalan, si adult 1, si adult 2, si adult 3, hanggang sa ika-adult 800 sa isang papel. Tapos, ilalagay niya na yun sa urn. And then, sunod niyang gagawin, magdodraw na siya. Bubunot na siya ng 267 folded paper from the bowl or box without looking. Tapos doon, i-identify niya na kung ano yung mga nabunot niya. Kunyari, nabunot niya si adult 7. Pwede namang si adult 11. Pwede rin agad umabot kay adult 800 or adult 699. So, ganon. They are all in equal chances and the number of adults that there will be in his sample is 267. So, 267 times siyang bubunot para makuha niya lahat ng sample para ma-reach niya yung ika-267 na pagbunot niya or pag-draw. So, ganyan lang kadali si simple random sampling. Pangalawang type ng random sampling ay systematic sampling. Ito naman, a random sampling technique in which every k element of the population is selected until the desired number of elements in the sample is obtained. The value of k is the sampling interval. So may interval siya, common interval. Like for this example, in this given example, there are 12. He chooses 3, 6, 9, at saka 12. Kung papansinin, ang interval niya ay 3. So, kada 3, kinukuha niya as part of his sample. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, kaya may 6, 1, 2, 3, kasi may 9, 1, 2, 3, kaya may 12. Dito naman sa susunod na illustration, ang k niya ay 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bilang ulit siya mula dun sa napili niya, bilang ulit siya ng 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, yan. Kaya ang nakuha niya, itong ika-4 at yung ika-8. Let us have example under this. Example number 2. There are 400 families in a barangay in which 50 families are needed as sample for an experiment. So take a look at the given. There are 400, so this will be our population in a barangay in which 50 families are needed as sample. So we'll be needing 50 families as sample. So for us to do that, we will use the systematic random sampling, wherein the formula for K is equal to N, the number of elements in the population, divided by small letter n, which stands for the number of elements in the sample. K is the sample interval, capital letter N is the population size, and small letter n is the sample size. So for us to compute that, since we're about to use the random sampling, kailangan natin kuhanin ang interval or yung K para malaman natin kung kada ilang number natin kukuhanin yung part of the sample. So let us solve for K. Solution. Number 1, Prepare a sampling frame by randomly arranging the 400 families. So, i-arrange mo muna sila. 400 families yan. So, yung number 1, Santos family. Number 2, Garcia family. Hanggang sa ika-4, ika-400, Ramos family. Third, ito na yung magko-compute tayo ng interval. Kada anong number natin kukuhanin yung sample. So, K is equal to 400 divided by 50. So, 400 divided by 50 ay 8 sample interval. So, ngayon, alam na natin ang magiging pagitan ng mga samples natin. Kada 8. But before that, we have to consider saan ba ako magsisimula? Sa 1 ba? Ay, yung number naman na kung saan magsisimula, meron din siyang proseso. Select a number from whole numbers between 0 and k plus 1. So, k plus 1, between 0 and k plus 1. Meaning, hindi kasama si 0, hindi kasama yung k plus 1. Ano yung k plus 1? Ang k, alam natin na 8 plus 1. So, ito ay 9. So, we will choose between 0 and 9. Hindi kasama si 0 at saka si 9. So, ang pagpipilian lang natin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Paano tayo pipili dyan? Gagamitin natin yung simple random technique para malaman natin kung saang number tayo magsisimula kasi 1 hanggang 400 yan. Ano yung starting natin? So, by a simple random technique, bubunot ako or magdodraw ako. For example, assume that the randomly selected number is 3. Use 3 as the starting number. Kaya yung mga family mo na isa-isa mong nilista hanggang 400, ayan, magsisimula ka sa ikatlong family, kung sino man yung family na yun, ang sunod mo ay bibilang ka na ng 8 mula sa 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, ika-8 siya, kaya 11. Yan yung second na sample mo. So, 3, 11, sunod, bilang ka mula sa 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Kaya ang sunod mo, 19. Ano kaya ang kasunod? Pang ilang family kaya ang kasunod ng 19? So, 19 plus 8. 27. 27. So, ano kasunod ng 27? 27 plus 8, 35. Kasunod ng 35 plus 8 ulit, 43. Kasunod ng 43, anong family kaya yun? Pang ilan siya? 51. So, plus ka lang ng plus hanggang sa marating mo yung 50 families na kailangan para sa sample. That's how we use and get samples using the systematic random sampling. Ikatatlo nating random sampling ay stratified sampling. Ito naman, the population is partitioned into several subgroups called strata, which are based on some characteristics like fear level, gender, age, ethnicity, etc. So, i-group mo lang sila according to their characteristics. Example. So, kung makikita nyo sa figure, so sa example natin, meron tayong cube, meron tayong pyramid, meron tayong sphere. So, una natin gagawin, ito ang population natin. Para makakuha tayo ng sample, base dito sa population natin, i-group muna natin sila according to their characteristics. So, lahat ng cube, isang grupo. Lahat ng pyramid, isang grupo. At lahat ng sphere, isang grupo lang. Pagkatapos niyan, pag nag-group mo na sila according to their characteristics, kumuha ka na ng tig-iisang sample. Ayan. Ngayon, kung ang sample mo ay like ito kasi tatlo-tatlo lang, kaya ang kukuhanin mo lang tig-iisa lang. Pero kung maraming karakteristik tapos marami kang sample na kailangan, baka umulit ka ng cycle. Pagkatapos mo sa sphere, palit ka ulit sa cube, kuha ka ulit ng isa, pagkatapos sumunod ka ulit sa pyramid, tapos isa ulit sa sphere. So, ganon. Hanggang sa ma-reach mo yung number of samples na kailangan mo. Ganon lang si stratified sampling. Let us have example number 3. A clothing company wants to determine whether 1,000 customers prefer any specific color over other colors in shirts. How are you going to choose your sample of 200 customers by using stratified sampling if there are 144, 162, 73, 146, 270, and 205 customers per stratum? So, ito yon. Sa white, dito sa ating solution, subdivide, ang una mong gagawin, subdivide the population with their preferred shirt colors into several strata. So, ayun, dinivide na silang lahat. Yung customer na gusto yung white, 144. Blue, 162. Sa black, 73. Sa red, 146. Yellow, 270. Green, 205. Pag inad natin to lahat, yan ay 1,000. Ang kailangan natin, 200 na sample mula sa 1,000 na population. Paano natin kukuhanin yun? Ilang white ang kukuhanin ko? Ilang blue ang kukuhanin ko? Ilang black, ilang red, ilang yellow, ilang green, na dapat ang makuha ko ay 200 lang. So, na-erase. So, from there, to obtain the sample size per color, divide the total number of customers per stratum by the total number of customers. Then, multiply the result by 200. Select the members of each sample by using simple random sampling. Ito, tandaan nyo, pumasok na naman si simple random sampling. So, unang gagawin, divide the total number of customers per stratum. So, kung white yan, 144 divided by the total number of customers. The total number is 1,000. And multiply the result by 200. So, kung ano man ang sagot nito, i-multiply mo sa 200 para makuha mo yung number of customers who prepare to have white. So, let us have the solution. So, ito na. Computation of sample size. So, si white, ito na. Merong 144 na customers ang may gusto ng white. Para makuha ko kung ilang white ang kukuhanin ko mula sa mga customers, what will I do is 144 divided by 1,000. Tapos, ang sagot doon, multiply ko sa 200 and this will result into 29. So, sa sample ko na 200, 29 doon ang white. Same with blue. Sa blue, merong 162 na customer na gusto ng blue. So, 162 divided by 1,000 times 200. Yan ay 32. Next, sa black, merong customer, 73 customer na gusto ng black. So, ang gagawin para malaman ko kung ilang sample ang kukuhanin ko sa customer na gusto ng black ay 73 divided by 1,000. That is 0.073 times 200. That will give us 15. Then, red. 146 customers prepare red. So, 146 divided by 1,000 is 0.146. times 200, that is 29. Naka-round off na tong mga to the nearest whole kasi ang pinag-uusapan natin dito ay tao. 270 ang taong may gusto ng yellow o customer na gusto ng yellow. 270 divided by 1,000 times 200 ay 54. Then green, there are 205 customers who prepare green, kaya 205 divided by 1,000 times 200, that is 41. Pag inad mo to lahat, ang total nito ay 200. Ngayon, na-determine na natin kung ilang white, ilang blue, ilang black, ilang red, ilang yellow, at ilang green ang kukuhanin natin para mabuo natin ang 200 sample. Ngayon, ang gagawin naman next to that, para malaman natin kung sino-sino yung mga yun, gagamitin natin yung simple random technique para mapili natin yung 29 mula sa 144. So, lahat ng mga taong kumuha ng puti, lilista ang mga pangalan nila sa papel, ilalagay sa urn or box, at idodraw ng hindi nakatingin doon kung sino man yung napili niya hanggang sa mabuo niya yung 29, yun ang kasama sa 200. Same with persons who prepare blue. Simple random technique ulit ang gagawin. Saka ililista isa-isa kung sino man yung mga taong yun na nakuha mula sa simple random technique. In short, yung 32 na to, manggagaling sa 162 via simple random technique. Itong 15, galing sa 73, simple random sampling technique din. 29, galing sa 146, yung 54, galing sa 270, at 41 mula sa 205. Bumubuo ng 200. Yan ang stratified random sampling technique. Yung last na type ng random sampling under probability sampling ay cluster or area sampling. Ito naman, the population is divided into clusters. From these clusters, random sampling clusters will be drawn. All the elements from the sampled cluster will make up the sample. Ito naman, igugrupo, ika-cluster. Kunyari, sa isang population mo, kung meron tayong population na ganito, yung population dinivide sa 6 na grupo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tsaka 6. Igrinupo sila. Tapos dito, by using, nagrupo na sila by cluster. By using simple random technique, bubunot lang or idodraw lang kung sino sa kanila ang kukuhanin mo bilang sample. Dito, kunyari nabunot mo yung group 1, cluster 1. Lahat ng kasama sa cluster 1 ay kasama na sa sample. Tapos yung cluster 6, nabunot din, na-draw. Isa siya sa sample. So, ganon, isang buhat kapag sinabing cluster. Una, igugrupo. Pangalawa, by using simple random technique, pipiliin or i-draw kung sinong cluster ang kasama. At kung lahat ng cluster, lahat ng miyembro ng cluster na yun ay kasama sa sample. Yan ang cluster or area sampling. So, let's have this example. Suppose some medical researchers wants to study the patients in Metro Manila. How are they going to do this using the cluster sampling technique? Solution. Una nilang gagawin is to divide the population into clusters. Use few hospitals as clusters. Take note, Metro Manila ang pinag-uusapan. So, buong NCR. Ang dami-daming hospital ng NCR. So, magka-cluster lang sila. Ang clustering nila ay per hospital as clusters. Not all the hospitals in Metro Manila will be included in the sample. This could be selected at simple random sampling. So, pag na-cluster na nila, yung mga hospital, like for example, sa NCR, maraming cities, Muntinlupa, Manila, Quezon City, San Juan, Parañaque, Las Piñas, and so on. So, kada city, kuha sila ng hospital. Yung kilalang hospital. So, kunwari, Muntinlupa, ang piling hospital sa Muntinlupa ay hospital ng Muntinlupa. Pangalawa, Maynila. Ang napiling hospital ng Maynila ay hospital ng Maynila. So, ganon. Sa Parañaque, Parañaque Doctors. So, yun. So, ililista nila yun. Isa-isa ulit para i-draw na naman natin using simple random sampling technique. Pag nalista na yun, bubunot ng isa, like kunyari, ang napili mo sa pag-draw mo ay Muntinlupa at ang ospital ng Muntinlupa ay ang ospital ng Muntinlupa or Osmon. Ang sabi dito sa number 3, not all the patients in the chosen hospital will be included in the study. Select the final patients to be included in the sample by using simple random sampling ulit. So dito kanina, inisa-isa natin lahat ng ospital ng NCR. Tapos kung ilan man yung cities na yun, with corresponding hospital, bumunot tayo or nag-draw. For example, napili natin ang Muntinlupa at ang Muntinlupa ay may ospital ng Muntinlupa. Sa number 3, hindi rin daw lahat ng pasyente ng ospital ng Muntinlupa ay kasama bilang sample. Pipili pa rin. Select the final patient to be included in the sample by using simple random sampling. So, i-identify mo naman ngayon ang mga pasyente ng Osmon. Tapos, from there, mula doon sa lahat ng pasyente ng Osmon, magdodraw ka ulit para piliin ang magiging sample mo. Siyempre, alamin mo rin kung ilan ang total population, ilan ang sample na kailangan mo. So, ganun. Kaya, magagamit ka ng Sloven's formula pag ganun. So, ganyan ang paggamit ng cluster sampling technique. The sampling techniques that involve random selections are called probability sampling. Ito yung mga na-discuss ko. Simple random, systematic, stratified, tsaka cluster sampling. These are all probability sampling techniques. Meron pang isang klase yan. Ito naman yung mga non-probability sampling. They are also sampling techniques that do not involve random selection of data. So, kaya ang tawag sa kanila, non-probability. So, ano yun? Meron tayong convenience sampling. Convenience from the word itself, wherein the researcher gathers data from nearby sources or information exerting minimal effort. Convenience is being used by persons giving questionnaires on the streets to ask the passers-by. So, ganun lang. Kung saan siya conveniente, kung saan siya mas madaling makakuha ng data, yun ang gagawin niya. Convenience sampling. Pangalawa, sampling technique under sa non-probability ay yung purposive. Ito naman, base sa purpose niya. It is not considered a random sampling since the respondents are being selected based on the goal, purpose nga of the studies of the researcher. If the study is about the students who are children of OFW, the researcher will get samples who are children of OFW. This excludes other students from being a sample. So ano na siya? Yung goal niya ay ito, purposive. Kung anong purpose niya, direct na rin siya doon. Ang study niya ay about sa children ng OFW. Wala nang kahirap-hirap. Ang pupuntahan niyang respondents ay mga anak mismo ng OFW. So, hindi na kagad kasali yung mga anak ng mga nagtatrabaho dito lang sa atin. Yun. Ganun ang purposive. Base lang sa purpose niya. So, for our activity, I have prepared a G-forms for this, and this will be uploaded in our G-class. You can find it in the classworks under week 5. I want you to answer this with all honesty and make sure to submit your answer. I also have provided the learning activity sheet for this. Please refer to G-class for the copy of this G-forms or Google Forms. That is our topic for today, and I hope you have learned about this topic, and may you continue watching. Don't forget to subscribe my channel, Juliet B, if you are new with my channel. That's all for today. Stay safe and God bless.